Hi. Yeah, my name's Katherine and I'm really nervous. So I just thought I'd say that because I imagine there are a few people out there who are interested in talking, but they're thinking, I'm going to be too nervous. But you can do it. So, you know, nerves are good. Nerves mean that we're moving out of our comfort zone, that we're growing. So I've been feeling sick for the last 20 minutes. I'm hoping that'll go away. So right now there's a big difference between my insides and my outsides. You know, I reckon I'm looking pretty good, even if I do say so myself. I've got my best red frock on and high heels, and I'm definitely not a high heels girl. In fact, these are my salsa shoes. They've got carpet underneath, so I can't even wear them outside. So I have my flip-flops in my bag. So yeah, I think on the outside I look like I've got it all together. On the inside, as I said, I feel really sick and really nervous. And I'm really interested in this difference between the outside and the inside. I've had I barely slept last night. I went to bed saying, you've got to sleep. You've really got to sleep really well tonight because it's really, really important because you're going to be speaking on stage tomorrow. I tried so hard to sleep that I didn't sleep at all. And then, I woke up late and I'm having my lunch on the train and I bite into a cherry tomato and it squirts all over my white jeans. And they're the only trousers I've got for tomorrow. And I'm thinking, what was I thinking? Why am I saying that story? Because because what I want to say, if you take one thing away from this talk, is when you're eating cherry tomatoes, put them in your mouth and keep your mouth closed. But back to, so yeah, I was feeling pretty exhausted, and on the inside, I'm tired and adrenalized, so I'm hoping the adrenaline will carry me through. But I spent quite a long time with my insides and my outsides being different. As Shay mentioned, I used to report for Reuters. I was a political correspondent. And I'm just going to take you to one of the scenes that was very common. So I'm in Shanghai. I'm in a 5-star hotel. I've been on the plane with Tony Blair. So we had a desk in Parliament, and we often got to travel with the Prime Minister. And so I think we've been to Washington, Beijing, Shanghai. So I was absolutely exhausted. I get into my hotel room and I put my laptop on the desk, kick off my shoes, and then I open the minibar. And I take out the huge plastic tub of peanuts, salted peanuts, and I start eating them. And I'm eating them so quickly that they're falling through my fingers all over the floor. And I finish the peanuts and I pick up the ones off the floor and I eat those too. And then I go for the chocolate, huge slab of chocolate, and I eat my way all through that chocolate. And then Bounty. I absolutely hate desiccated coconut. But I ate the Bounty bar. I think there were 2 Bounty bars, so I eat my way through all this stuff, and then I get to my desk, and I'm frantically writing my story. So I work for Reuters, international news agency, 24/7 news. You know, you've got to get it out first, and it's got to be right. I was absolutely petrified. I thought, what if I get it wrong? People are going to tell me off. I'm going to lose my job. How do I write this story? Which words do I choose? Which decision do I make? And I found it so stressful. And so I'm trying to do this story, and then the phone rings, and it's a colleague from a newspaper. He says, we're all downstairs. Everyone's having dinner. So I'm completely stuffed with my peanuts and chocolate, but I'm like, I'll be there. So I finish my story and I go down to dinner, and I eat a modest dinner because they don't know what I've just eaten, and I don't want them to see that, I actually want to eat everything in front of me on the table. We go into the bar, there's a bit of small talk, some drinking. All I want to do is get into my room. I just want to find something else to eat. I get back to my room, the only thing left are those 2 little chocolates on the pillow. They've done the turn down service. I eat those chocolates. I crawl into bed and my stomach's hurting. And I wake up the next morning and I absolutely hate myself. I look in the mirror and my eyes are really puffy and my face is red. And I put on my clothes and they feel really tight. And I absolutely despise myself. I go downstairs, I check out at reception, and she says, anything from the minibar? And I'm there and I'm thinking, I hope nobody hears me, because I have to say, I ate the peanuts, I ate the chocolate, and the Bounty bars. And then I arrived with my colleagues who were all waiting in the reception, and ta-da! I am the competent, confident Reuters journalist, ready to ask Tony Blair a question. And they don't know what's going on inside. And that was the story for many years. It started a lot younger. I began binge eating and starving and not eating and exercising and doing anything I could to change the way I felt. I began in my teenage years, and it went all the way through university. So I went to Oxford. I was a high achiever and did very well at school, went to Oxford. On every single day of my final exams at Oxford, I got on the scales in the morning to see how much I weighed. And that was a measure of how good my day would be, how good I'd feel. And then I went to do my finals. And then I worked in Mexico for Bloomberg, and Mexico, the binge drinking was the big thing. So we partied like crazy, and it wasn't all bad. Some of my Mexican buddies that I made there in the audience, and we had a lot of fun. But I didn't know when to stop when I drank. So I would end up the next morning throwing up on all these street corners in Mexico. So Saturday morning, my then boyfriend would hold my hand, and I'd say, I just need to be sick. And I'd go around the whole square and vomit in every corner. And I didn't really think anything of it. I thought that was kind of normal. And my friends thought it was hilarious. And then I went to Brazil. I worked there for 3 years and carried on with these behaviours, and came back to London. And I started to come out of denial. I started to say to myself and to some friends, there's something a bit weird about the way I eat. I starve all day, I try not to eat anything because I might get fat, and then as soon as I eat something, I can't stop. I start eating cereal and the whole box is gone. So I started to talk about it, and I spoke about it to one friend who was a recovering alcoholic, and he suggested that I needed a bit of help. So I went to some support groups for overeaters, I started doing therapy, and that was 13 years ago. So the Tony Blair episode was after I had started becoming aware of what I was doing, which is why it's so much more painful. So when I was in denial about what I was doing, it was a lot easier just to, I didn't even realise what I was doing to myself. But when you start realising that you are harming yourself and you are aware of it and you can't stop, that is really painful. So I had a number of rock bottoms with alcohol. I blacked out in my bathroom, with other behaviours that I deemed to be self-harming, around, hooking up with men who I didn't even like, or when I was drunk, that kind of thing. And with the food, eating dry oats out of the packet. I'd run out of milk, I'd run out of yogurt, I just kept going. And I don't know if you've ever tried to eat dry oats, but they don't go down very well. They kind of stay. And then, my stomach in so much pain, and then just sort of rolling off the sofa onto the floor and crying, because I knew what I was doing to myself by then. So, that was 13 years ago. And, well, that wasn't 13 years ago, that was while I was recovering. There was some, in terms of rock bottom around my life, there was a moment when I was on my knees by my bed thinking, what's the point? What is the point of my life? I was pretty low. And one of the things by then, the job I was doing, it just didn't feel at all in tune with who I was anymore. So once I was recovering and realising that one of the things with the job, it was one of those wow jobs. People say, what do you do? And you say, well, I have a desk in Parliament and I fly around the world with Tony Blair. And they go, wow. And that was really, I needed that for my ego at the time, because I had low self-esteem, and thank you, and I needed something on the outside to make me feel better. And as I recovered, that job was an ego job, not a soul job. So now what I do, I try and do my soul's work. A lot has changed. I've moved out of London. I live by the sea in Dorset. I swim in the sea. I meditate on the beach. I'm a journalist, freelance now, and I'm developing a coaching business. And what I am passionate about is encouraging people to talk about what's happening on the inside. because I think it's really dangerous if we don't. It's not only dangerous to ourselves, because we could be self-harming to an extent that we cause ourselves a great deal of harm, but it's dangerous for everybody else. Because if we think everyone else has got it all together, if I'm the only one who's struggling, and I'm the only one who's suffering, and I can't ask anyone for help, then I'm going to do something, I'm going to go off and carry on binge eating, or ultimately I might take my own life. So I think it's really important to talk about what's going on the inside. So that's what I do. I encourage people to do that through public speaking, through helping people who are in those professions, particularly those professions where we're so busy and we're working so hard, and we hide what's on the inside, and we use things to get by. So I'm passionate about helping those people change their lives. Whatever trap they're in, I'd like people to get out of that trap, and I'd like to help them do it. So I'll just finish by saying, I would ask just one plea to you in the next few days, whenever you can, with a friend, with a family member, with somebody at work, just be a little more real. Just share a little bit more of what's really going on, because I think we connect more with each other, and it could save somebody's life. Thank you.